The moral of the story for this book is just acknowledge the dragon. If it's scary, no matter what, just acknowledge the dragon, okay? It'll go away. It'll get smaller. It'll be manageable. Ignoring something doesn't make it less real, you know? Something isn't fiction just because you choose not to acknowledge it. Hello, welcome to the Love Your Lawn podcast. My name is Loudon Granger, and join me today as we talk about stories, smells, and seagull. Be sure to like and subscribe and click the notification bell icon so you can stay up to date with everything we do here on the show. Let's begin. Guys, everyone here, just letting you know, today is a very special day because it is the story day. Yay, it's a story time day. So I'm going to read you this story, okay? It's called There's No Such Thing as a Dragon by Jack Kent. Okay, it's a lovely story. All right, here we go. Billy Bixby was rather surprised when he woke up one morning and found a dragon in his room. It was a small dragon. It was about the size of a kitten. All right, here we go. Show it to the camera. I would be surprised if there was a dragon in my room too, by the way. The dragon wagged its tail happily, and when Billy patted it on its head. So Billy went downstairs to tell his mother, and there is no such thing as a dragon, said Billy's mother, and she said it like she meant it. Billy went back to his room and began to dress. The dragon came close to Billy and it wagged its tail. But Billy did not pat it, because if there's no such thing as a dragon, then it's silly to pat it on the head. Billy washed his face, his hands, and went down to breakfast. The dragon went along. However, it was bigger now, almost the size of a dog. Billy sat down at the table. The dragon sat down on the table. This sort of thing was not usually permitted, but there wasn't much Billy's mother could do about it. She had already said that there was no such thing as a dragon, and if there's no such thing, you can't tell it to get down off the table. Mother made some pancakes for Billy, but the dragon ate them all. Mother made some more, but the dragon ate those too. Mother kept making pancakes until she ran out of batter. Billy only got one of them, but he said that was all he really wanted anyways. Huh, interesting. Billy's under the table eating his only pancake. Billy went upstairs to brush his teeth. Mother started clearing the table. The dragon, who was quite as big as Mother by this time, made himself comfortable in the hallway rug, and he went to sleep, laying right on the rug in the hallway. By the time Billy came downstairs, the dragon had grown so much that he filled the hall. Billy had to go around by the way of the living room to get where his mother was. I didn't know dragons grew so fast, Billy said. There's no such thing as dragons, Billy's mother said. Look at that dragon is huge now. Massive dragon. The whole hallway. He'd take the long way around. Cleaning the downstairs took the mother all morning long with that dragon in the way, and having to climb in and out of the windows to get from room to room. This is Billy's mom trying to clean around the dragon. She's going in and out of the windows here. By noon, the dragon filled the house. Its head hung out the front door, and its tail hung out the back door. And there wasn't a room in the house that didn't have some part of the dragon in it. Look at this. The whole house was filled with the dragon. When the dragon awoke from his nap, he was hungry, and a bakery truck went by. The smell of fresh bread was more than the dragon could resist, and the dragon ran down the street after the bakery truck. The house went along, of course, like a shell on a snail. Look at this. Buttercup Bread is the name of the bakery. Look at this. The dragon's going for the bread. The dragon loves carbs. It loves pancakes and it loves bread now. The mailman was just coming up the path with some mail for the Bixbys when their house rushed past him and headed down the street. He chased the Bixby's house for a few blocks, but he could not catch it. When Mr. Bixby came home for lunch, the first thing he noticed was that the house was gone. Luckily, one of the neighbors was able to tell him which way it went. Yeah, look at this. That's the house. That's the foundation of the house right there. Mr. Bixby's there. The neighbor's telling him where the house is, and the dragon's way over here, going after the bread company. Mr. Bixby got into his car and went looking for the house. He studied all the houses as he drove along, and finally he saw one that looked familiar. Billy and Mrs. Bixby were waving from the upstairs window. Look at this. The dragon knocked over the bread truck. Mr. Bixby climbed over the dragon's head onto the porch roof and went through the upstairs window. How did this happen? Mr. Bixby asked. It was the dragon, said Billy. There's no such thing, Mother started to say, and Billy said, no, there is a dragon. Billy insisted, a very big dragon, and Billy patted the dragon on its head. The dragon wagged its tail happily. Then, even faster than it had grown, the dragon started getting smaller. And soon, it was the size of a kitten. I don't mind dragons this size, Mother said. Why did it have to grow so big? I'm not sure, said Billy, but I think it just wanted to be noticed. And there we are with the little dragon eating some more carbs, I assume, out of its little dragon bowl. All right? So that is a great story. And it had some great illustrations too, by the way. Ignoring something doesn't make it less real, you know? Something isn't fiction just because you choose not to acknowledge it. That was said by Stephen T. Siegel, and he is an American comic book and video game writer. So this man he's an expert on fiction, character, and courage. You know, you have character plots and courage of writing these comic book stories. So that's what he had to say. He said, acknowledging it, if you don't acknowledge it, it doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't go away. Okay? So the moral of the story is, between the quote and the book, we have to acknowledge the dragons. If you say there's no dragon, that doesn't mean there isn't a dragon. You have to acknowledge what's really there. Okay? If not, your home gets destroyed and there's no more bread for anyone. I have a little personal story about this. Let me just set the stage here. I am afraid of going to the dentist. Okay? This is a very small story. Very, very minor story. I'm afraid of going to the dentist. I've always kind of been afraid of going to the dentist. And when I say afraid, it's not like I won't walk in the building. But when I go in, I am very on edge. I'm almost shaking. I get myself so worked up because there's just something about being on my back and them just kind of working in my mouth and looking and scraping and the noises. And sometimes it's a little sensitive. And I don't know. It just makes my skin crawl. So anyways, that's kind of who I am. But maybe a month ago or something, a few months ago, I felt a part of my tooth had a chip on it. I could feel it with my tongue, and it felt wiggly. It felt loose. It felt like something wasn't there. And I could feel food and stuff kind of maybe getting behind it or something. So I knew it really wasn't a good thing. And I knew what this meant. I knew that chances are I probably had a cavity or a filling that I had previously had popped, and that's where the food was going. And I just was trying to floss it out, but it was beyond repair on my part now. I knew I had to go to the dentist. So I hadn't been to the dentist for a while either, partially because I was afraid of going to the dentist. So anyways, my mother had a dentist appointment coming up, and the wait time for getting into the dentist was going to be a long time. So my mother ended up giving me her appointment, so I was able to get in sooner to get this looked at. So thank you, Mom, for doing that, by the way. And also, I reluctantly took the appointment and I went, okay? I get to the dentist, they take the thing out, the little chipped piece of tooth out, and they say, wow, you made it just in time. Most people wait till there's a bunch of pain before they come in, and they usually end up needing a root canal. You, on the other hand, made it just barely before it got to the roots, and you were about to be in some serious pain, but you finally came in and got this done. This is not going to have to be as big of a procedure as we thought, okay? So I thought they were going to have to rip my tooth out, to be honest with you, because that's just where I associate with the dentist. But they said, no, you came in at the right time. I addressed the dragon, if you will, okay? It's scary to address the dragon. In my case, I was afraid to address the dragon. I thought my teeth were going to get pulled. I did not think it was going to be a good time. You know, your reality changes. Like, you think your teeth are fine, and then you're like, no, my teeth need to get pulled out. It's just a lot. So you imagine that the dragon will go away. In the case of Billy knew there was a dragon, but Billy imagined it would go away. He thought it would be silly to pat it on the head, so he just kind of thought it would go away. Billy's mother, on the other hand, refused to see the dragon at all. And that was a little bit contagious, if you will, because that mindset kind of spread to Billy, okay? But clearly, the dragon just wanted to be noticed, all right? So if you refuse to see it in the first place, that can also be scary. The moral of the story for this book is just acknowledge the dragon. If it's scary, no matter what, just acknowledge the dragon, okay? It'll go away. It'll get smaller. It'll be manageable. If it's mentionable, it's manageable. Okay, doing this, not an easy task, all right? It's one of the challenges of life. It's one of the beasts you have to conquer, okay? It takes a lot of self-awareness. In the form of courage, perhaps. It takes a lot of self-awareness, looking inside. Is it something, my tooth, in my case, literally looking inside, something that was decaying, okay? Doing something that frightens you. That's literally the definition of courage. Doing, okay? Not just being paralyzed by fear. It's actually doing it. It takes a little bit of social awareness, another core human skill, because you must acknowledge that the dragon, you must acknowledge it in an appropriate way. If it's with other people, you can't just go in there and rip the tooth out. You need to acknowledge it in an appropriate way, okay? You need to talk about it. And involving yourself, like me with the dentist, you just need to find the courage to move forward with it. You need to manage yourself. You need to use the core human skills of self-management to kind of figure out, how can I make this happen? How can I move in the right direction after I'm aware of what's going on, and continue to take the next steps towards resolving your dragon, essentially. And lastly, if it's with another person, right? If your dragon involves another person, you can work on your core human skill of relationship building and talk about that dragon together, because it's just going to make your bond even stronger. It's just going to help. It's just going to resolve issues. So that's another core human skill. Practicing these core human skills can be tricky, okay? They can be tricky. So for our activator portion of the show, we have a game that is specifically designed to help kind of foster the growth in these core human skills, to kind of help prepare you for some of these situations, all right? The name of the activator is called Curiosity Killed the Cat, and we are going to kick it over to Pat Fish, who is our student leadership director, and he'll explain a little bit more about the game. This is a classic game, by the way. Take it away, Pat.
Somewhere in Catopia, there's been a string of murders. Luckily, somewhere in this room, we will have the world's greatest cat detective. It's a pretty straightforward game. You have as many cards as there are students in the classroom. You can also be a participant yourself. Just add a card for yourself. 2 of these cards, one, you will place a D on there for detective. The other one, you will place an M on there for murderer. On the count of 3, you are going to run, grab a piece of paper, hide it from everybody else, like poker. Make sure you do not allow anyone else to see your card. You can look at your card, but don't allow anyone else to see what's on there. If there's nothing on your card, which most of them will have nothing on there, don't say, what if my card has nothing on there? Don't say anything about what's on your card.
Go with it.
Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, grab a piece of paper. If you are the world's greatest cat detective, you have a D on your card. Will that person please raise your hand? Oh, awesome. We have the world's greatest cat detective. Now, world's greatest cat detective, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job. You're the world's greatest for a reason. So you can pretty much do whatever you want to this game. You can sit down in a chair, you can stand up on a table, you could walk around, you could take a nap if you need to. But your job is to solve which one of these cats is murdering all the other cats. Pretty messed up, but that's why you chose the job, right? Now, please do not raise your hand right now. Someone in this room currently has a M on their card. Do not raise your hand. That person is the murderer.
Dun, dun, dun.
Everyone is going to be walking around. I'm going to walk up to someone and I'm going to fist bump them. Now, when we fist bump, I am going to pay attention to what I say here. Not ask a question, but follow my curiosity. The objective for pretty much everyone in the room has nothing to do with this cat and cat game of the detective trying to find out who is the murderer. Everyone's objective in this game is to connect with other people in the room. You're walking around, you're fist bumping, and you're both following your curiosity and the questions that you ask each other. There's a big difference between simply asking a question that you're not going to be interested in the answer to and asking something that you genuinely find interesting. Maybe it's something that they're wearing. Maybe it's the fact that you both go to the same school together and you're wondering their thoughts or perspectives on this thing. But follow your curiosity and your question asking. And your goal is to learn something interesting about someone else. The objective of the detective is to solve who the murderer is in a small enough group. Want to give her 2 or 3 guesses? What's your call?
3.
3. So you get 3 guesses. The objective of the murderer is to kill as many cats as catly possible. And how are you going to do that? Well, at some point during your conversation, if I am the murderer, I am going to wink. Now, what that means is within the next 30 seconds, don't do it right away because it might give it away way too quickly, but within the next 30 seconds, you need to die a painful, dramatic cat death. Now, for some students, that might mean, hey, detective, I'm out, and just letting Delina know that you're out. For other students, I've had people like convulsing on the floor, meowing. You do whatever you gotta do, just keep it under 10 seconds. One final thing, if you are the murderer, you cannot kill the detective. You can't do it. So stay away from it. They are invincible. On your marks, get set, go.
What do you think that he's cat weather
What?
Oh, we have our first victim.
How's cat life? Cat life's good. I just went to go get some milk and bread for my kids.
Freeze!
Is it Ian?
No.
Really?
All right, there's one guess. You keep playing.
Now that we have completed our activator portion of the show, today we can begin our circle weaving portion of the show. And today's topic is, what is a fish? No, seriously, what is a fish? What the? That's a little joke that we have because in Circle, once you've formed a great bond with the people that you have been doing Circle with, and hopefully this is a reoccurring group, so you're really able to kind of develop a relationship with these people. But once you have that relationship, you as the weaver have taken the time to build the strong and stable environment. You can put the fish on the table. Now, what is the fish? Literally, what is it? What does this stand for? So the fish is kind of like the circle version of the dragon, okay? the fish, quite literally, like if you had fish in your house, like you're about to have fish for dinner or something, but you ended up ordering pizza instead, and you just kept forgetting to use the fish or eat the fish or cook it, eventually that fish would spoil. It would become nasty. It would start to stink up your whole entire house, okay? Or perhaps you're cooking the fish and a piece of it falls on the floor and kind of gets kicked into the corner through the hustle and bustle of you cooking it, kicked under the kitchen cabinet or something, and eventually that fish starts to rot in the room and it stinks, okay? It causes problems. It's irritating, right, to our senses. This is the same kind of concept as the dragon. This is what we call the fish. So whenever you have a moment where like, WTF, what the? That is not the way you should be thinking about it. You should be kind of, in a one way, kind of celebrating that, hey, I just stumbled across a fish. That initial response of WTF, those kind of scowling moments, like, come on. It's actually a signal that there is a fish present and you have just detected it. And if we know anything about the book we just read, that probably means you should acknowledge the fish as well, because if not, it's just going to continue to stink up the house. All right? So to do this in circle, this is great. Circle's a great, it's a great environment to discuss fish, okay? It has a lot of utility because there's so many different points of view on this topic. What something looks like to someone might not look like that from my seat or from my perspective, okay? So circle, when you're trying to get to the bottom and find some sweet solutions to some fish, some stinky fish, or address something that no one's really talking about and no one really wants to weigh in on, circle's actually a very good environment to kind of really get to the heart of an issue and really acknowledge the dragon, if you will. Okay? And listen, when it comes to, different things that you're trying to solve, you might find a solution immediately. You might figure something out, or you might not. And that's okay. You don't need to force something. You don't need to force a solution. But as long as it's been acknowledged and you're moving in the right direction, we're getting everyone's perspective on it, and getting that fish out in the open, airing it out, if you will, then that is a great start, okay? But I will say one thing. This is specifically for the weavers. Weavers, literally, you need to listen to this. Do not, never, ever, ever start throwing fish on the table when your circle group is, it's not ready for it yet. You don't have the trust, okay? You don't have the bond of all the people participating. It's going to be a very polarizing situation, okay? You could really turn people away. You could really, you're just not ready to handle these issues. You might be able to handle small issues, tiny little minnows, tiny little fish that you need to address. Sure. Like, can we put the shoes on that side of the room? Can we do this? Sure. Okay, maybe you can handle that with your group. However, the larger the fish, the more trust and the more stable and strong the bond must be to start addressing those issues. So as the weaver, you need to kind of have your finger on the pulse with this, because you don't want to go too heavy, too massive of a fish. It's kind of like the boat that you're in is kind of like the allowance of the fish you can catch, if you will. All right. If you have a really massive boat, you can really talk about some massive fish. Okay. You have massive trust. Your vessel, your capacity is huge. You can handle the fish. But if you're in a little rowboat, I'm probably not going to pull a massive tuna into my rowboat if it's just me trying to, so kind of dial that in and apply that imagery to how you view your circle. Your circle is your vessel. Your circle is your boat. And depending on how big your boat is, it can withstand, the topics you're going to throw at it. So anyways, that closes our circle portion of the show for us today. Very good. In other news, you guys, spring break is over. All right. And Ticonderoga has just wrapped up with their STEP presentations. Great job, Ticonderoga. Ticonderoga, New York, you are crushing it. Very good job. The STEP program, we've talked about this before. The STEP program is about students presenting the Sweethearts and Heroes message. Okay? This is like a 16, 17-year-old message. just being honed by Tom and Rick, really dialing it in, really figuring it out. But remember, this message is not Tom and Rick's message. This message is Sweethearts and Heroes' message. Tom and Rick present it, and they present it in their own way. And guess what? This was the exact same way that Ticonderoga step students approached this message as well. They all presented it in their own way. It was the Sweethearts and Heroes message presented by the Ticonderoga students to the Ticonderoga little students. And all of them really did a great job. They all really adopted a very, very unique character to them. So it was very, very awesome to see. And we're going to take a look at that right now.
I'm gonna try to make you guys laugh. You can't laugh or else I'll fart really loud. Okay? Okay? I think you're laughing. Did I see you laughing? Did I see you laughing? Okay, ready? Can you guys do the worm? No? I'm gonna show you guys how to do the worm. Ready?
What's up, everyone? You're gonna say hey back? What's up? There, I need to hear it loud. And from everyone, come on. There we go. My name is Captain Carter. See, this is my superhero shirt.
Super great job, step students of Ticonderoga, New York, making it your own. You were acknowledging the dragon of bullying. Okay, you were putting the fish on the table, and you were showing the younger students that it's okay to be solving this problem. It's okay to be talking about this and fixing this. Okay, and that is huge, especially at the young age that they're at. That is huge. So very good job to all of you. And I am personally very, very excited to see, as the years go on, how these characters change and grow and adapt and kind of reflect who you are and your challenges in your own life. I'm very excited to see this. So very good job, Ticonderoga, New York. What a great job, and keep up the great work for that, for real. Awesome. If you want your school to be featured on the Love Your Lawn podcast, be sure to shed some light at what's going on. Send us an email. Our address is in the description below. And remember, loving your life starts by loving your lawn.